A secret place, Inosuke? You instantly became captive to your own curiosity. What's secret about it?
You'll see when we get there! And with that, he proceeded to grab you by the nearest limb and took off running. If you hadn't braced yourself, he surely would have yanked your arm from its socket.
Wait! I need to put my shoes on!
I'll carry you! You yelped when he suddenly swung you over his shoulder. You had no choice but to hang there helplessly as his movement bounced you along. Traveler-chan! You looked up when the blonde called out to you and noticed he and Tanjiro standing there looking perplexed. You smiled at their reaction and waved. Inosuke always had a way of throwing them for a loop, but you knew you were in safe hands. The brash young man wasn't the most esteemed in his manners, but you knew deep down that he had no tolerance for injustice. He'd never let harm come to you. Don't follow us! Inosuke shouted back to the others as he rounded the corner and disappeared from sight. What are we gonna do, Tanjiro? Zenitsu shrieked out, yanking on his checkered haori. He's kidnapping her!
She didn't seem worried, Zenitsu, so there's no reason to be nervous. Besides, Inosuke asked us not to follow them, so I'm sure it's fine.
That's what a demon would say! He insisted, and Tanjiro flinched from his intensity. Not that it would have been noticeable since the motion was overtaken by Zenitsu violently shaking him. Who knows what could happen to her in those woods? What if he leaves her there and she gets lost? Tanjiro's expression softened.
I mean, I wouldn't feel right about invading their privacy.
Invade it!
But if you really think Traveler's in danger... He curled a finger to his lips. I'd hate to not trust your instincts and regret it later on.
Yeah! No time to lose! The blonde dramatically picked up his foot, ready to sprint through the estate gate.
Wait!
Tanjiro placed a hand on his shoulder, causing his posture to slump.
If things are fine, we leave immediately. Agreed?
Zenitsu pursed his lips begrudgingly. I guess I can live with that. In all honesty, he didn't want to leave you alone with another guy ever, let alone with someone as uncouth as Inosuke. But based on Tanjiro's current stern aura, he knew he wasn't going to receive a better offer. So the two set off, Zenitsu taking the lead. After quite a decent hike deep into the woods, Tanjiro was glad he made the decision to come along. He didn't doubt your capabilities, but surely it would have been difficult to find a way back before dark, even for the most skilled of woodsmen. The breeze had shifted a few times, and Tanjiro was getting your scent from 2 or 3 directions now. But despite this, the young man noticed his companion's path had not wavered.
How do you know which direction they went, Zenitsu? Can you really still hear Inosuke running from this far away?
Nope.
Then you memorized their path from the sound and are retracing their footsteps the best you can?
That would be difficult, even for me.
So, what's guiding you in this direction?
He made a face at the blonde, baffled at why he was so confidently zigzagging up the mountainside. It's the power of love, Tanjiro.
I'm lost.
The water swordsman rolled his eyes. He realized that not only had he left Inosuke to his own devices, but also possibly allowed himself to get lost. Tanjiro didn't harbor any distrust for Inosuke per se, but admittedly he did worry you might come back with a fair share of scrapes and bruises. Inosuke didn't have a chivalrous bone in his body, nor did he subscribe to the standard rituals of courting a delicate young lady. I hear water, Zenitsu mumbled to himself, then took a sharp turn towards the sound. A few meters further and Tanjiro caught the scent again.
You were right, Zenitsu. They did go this way.
He beamed at his friend, smile a tiny bit crooked from the guilt he felt for doubting him. Quietly they snuck upon the clearing, noting a pristine waterfall glistening in the sunlight. A round pool sat at its base, though it was hard to tell how deep it was from their distance away. Zenitsu pouted. This was the kind of romantic place he would have wanted to take you to. Through the brush, he and Tanjiro spotted the two of you walking by the water's edge, when suddenly... Wah! The pair's mouths fell open in horror. Inosuke had outright pushed you into the water unprovoked. It was exactly as Tanjiro had feared, and he couldn't hold back the look on his face that screamed, I don't regret giving you a concussion. He's dead! I'll kill him, Tanjiro! The docile teen had to hold his co-conspirator back from an altercation. How dare he do that to a lady! Ah! Let go of me! Their ungraceful tussle resulted in Zenitsu stepping back onto a fallen branch, cracking it loudly beneath his foot. From the water you emerged, taking a sharp breath of surprise. Fortunately, the water was refreshingly cool, rather than the icy cold pinch on your skin you expected. You stared up at the culprit. You couldn't see his face below the mask, but somehow knew he was grinning at you ear to ear. His chin was lifted with pride, and all you could do was laugh. The rustling behind the trees fell silent when Zenitsu and Tanjiro froze in place. Wait! She's laughing. Tanjiro finished his sentence, blinking in disbelief at the scene before him. His posture sank slightly, but he donned an accepting smile nonetheless. Come on, Zenitsu, he said softly, placing a gentle guiding hand on his back. With heavy feet, the two spies turned from the clearing, ready to make the trip back down the mountain. You shielded your face with your hands as Inosuke's splash cascaded in a fountain around you. The handsome teen sprouted to the surface at neck height and you smiled, knowing that to a stranger in the distance it would probably appear as though you were swimming with a wild pig. But then, that's exactly what you were doing, wasn't it? Inosuke, you should take off your mask. It'll get smelly if you get it wet like that. I can handle it, he grunted in response. Water dripped from the snout of the boar's head. No girl's gonna want to kiss you if you do that. You smirked playfully. Much to your surprise, he removed it and tossed it carelessly onto the bank. Why would I care about something stupid like that? He snapped, almost defensively. You made a face at him and shrugged. Who knows? You observed the bandage wrapped around his head starting to sag and falter. Ah! Inosuke, you're... But before you could finish, the dark-haired boy went underwater once more, this time swimming towards you. He popped up just a few inches from your face. Hold still, he ordered, then submerged before you could question why. Around one side he passed you, and you had almost relaxed out of the anticipation when suddenly his hand grabbed your calves from behind, and you were being lifted out of the water on his shoulders. You instinctively latched your arms around his head for support, then let go when you remembered his head injury. Still, he retained stability with you under him, letting out a signature Inosuke chuckle before letting go of your legs. Not only that, but he pressed upwards on your ankles instead, causing you to topple ass over noggin into the water once more. This time you emerged with a vengeance. Hey, that wasn't fair! What's fair got to do with it? I'm strong and that's that! He smirked and your lips curled to match it. Guess I'll have to put you in your place then. I'd like to see you try. With that challenge, you lurched forward, locking your arms around his torso so you could dunk him. With impressive flexibility, he managed to squirm free. Then the chase was on. You followed him to and fro, then behind the waterfall. To your surprise, there was a shallow pool inside, complete with a sizable cave of slippery flat rocks. This must have been the secret place he was talking about before. Unfortunately, the troublesome teen took advantage of your momentary observance and awe to vanish below the water, dunking you once more. You ass! You asserted. This time you made sure he wasn't getting away, using a slab of stone near the water's edge to launch yourself onto him. The sheer force must have surprised him, for he stumbled forward, your combined weights plunging him to the bottom. Now you were grinning in satisfaction, even when the tackle took you under too. Once you rubbed the water from your eyes, you made a horrifying discovery. Ah, Inosuke! His bandage had completely come off, and a tiny trickle of blood was now artfully running down from the top of his head, finding a path between his eyes. Your heart suddenly ached with guilt. What? He blinked at you as if he felt nothing. You're bleeding. You sloshed through the water until the two of you were face to face. I'm sorry, Inosuke. I should have been more considerate of your injury. You delicately brushed your thumb over his forehead, furrowing your brows at the purplish bruise that had already developed from earlier. Inosuke seemed content to just watch you. Finally, you met his eyes and frowned. It was my fault for being unladylike in the first place.
So? Who cares about that? Rules are just things that stupid people make up because they aren't brave enough to go their own way. You're not like that, traveler. And neither am I.
In his own odd way, for a fleeting instant, Inosuke sounded wise beyond his years. He had a valid point. And one more thing caught your attention. You got my name right. With Inosuke, the first time might have been an accident. Twice had to be on purpose. His eyes darted away from yours and he mumbled out an answer.
Well, duh. It's kind of important.
You beamed brightly at him. Somehow that small gesture made you feel really special. Pink started to crawl its way up his cheeks before... The young man let out an aggressive scream, actually startling some nearby birds to flight, before dunking his head into the water with a loud slap. Your mouth fell open.
What's wrong, Inosuke?
My face felt hot for a second.
He poked his cheek with a finger.
Feels better now.
You bit the inside of your cheek to hold back a laugh. The fact that Inosuke had never felt himself blush before was nothing short of adorable. Not to mention the lowering sun was casting an ethereal gold and shimmering blue upon the water, making his jade eyes even harder to look away from than usual. Wistfully, you eyed the darkening tree line from behind the curtain of cascading water. We should probably head back soon and change your bandage. Replace would have been a better word, as it had totally gone missing at some point during your playful splashing about. You shimmied your way towards the bank only to have strong hands pull you backwards.
Wait.
He turned you to face him but didn't let go.
You mentioned kissing earlier.
His brow was set in a line, like he was puzzling something. It was awkward having such a personal conversation while caged in his arms.
Oh? Yeah, what about it?
It was hard to hide your fidgety demeanor. Your eyes were glancing in all directions, avoiding the piercing stare inches from your face. Inosuke certainly didn't have any hang-ups about personal space.
How does it work? Like, why do people do it?
Well, it's how people show their love.
He processed that for a moment before a reply came out swiftly.
Show me.
He stated it so matter-of-factly that his words almost didn't register at first. What? It's not as though you didn't want to, but you had to admit you were embarrassed by the bold way he asked for it.
I can't be the best at something if I don't know how it's done.
He knit his brows and pursed his lips, impatient that you didn't fulfill his request within approximately 3 seconds. You saw the opportunity.
Well, that's a good start.
You pointed to his puckered lips, feeling your cheeks burn.
Like this?
And before you could even gasp, his mouth was pressing against yours, wet and surprisingly soft, but still holding Inosuke's signature forcefulness. He pulled back almost immediately, and even he had a bright blush to match yours. You averted his gaze shyly.
Yeah, I think you got the hang of it.
His unblinking stare didn't make you feel any less awkward.
Are you supposed to close your eyes? I noticed you did.
If you want.
Do it again,
he demanded, and you felt yourself getting lightheaded all over again. By hook or by crook, this boy was going to be the death of you. This time he cradled your head in his hand. Instincts must have kicked in. He closed the distance and the dance of lips lasted much longer. You wrapped your arms tighter around him and he pulled you closer still. Once he finally pulled back, you giggled from shyness. He smiled back. It was oddly calm, comfortable, nearly out of character for him.
Good, right?
He asked with pride, certain he had done well based on your reaction.
Very good,
you praised his performance.
Fantastic, I'd say.
After exiting the cave, he lifted you onto the bank by the waist, clambering out after you. It was then you realized you had nothing to dry off with, and the wind was chilling fast as the sun descended. As if he read your mind, he crouched in front of you, facing away.
Get on,
he ordered, and you grinned. Once you secured your arms around his neck, he took off running back down towards the wisteria house. It was actually quite a smart plan. The piggyback ride would dry you off as he went. You gave him another kiss on the cheek, as the ease of access was far too great for you to resist. He let out an amused little What?
Practice all you want. You won't get better at it than me.
Oh yeah? We'll see about that. Maybe you can try and surpass me later.
I definitely will.
Greenery passed in repetitive waves and you began to grow a bit sleepy. Tired but happy, you enjoyed the warm feeling growing in your abdomen. Something special was blooming between you. A secret kiss in a secret place. No doubt with Inosuke's big mouth it wouldn't be a secret for long. But you didn't mind. The end.